June 29, 1967, 2:25 in the morning. A Louisiana highway shrouded in fog dot in the front seat of a 1966 Buick Electra sits Jayne Mansfield, Hollywood's blonde bombshell. The woman they called the working man's Marilyn Monroe. She's exhausted. She just finished performing at a nightclub in Mississippi dot in the back seat. 3 of her children are sleeping, including her 3-year-old daughter, Mariska, ahead of them, invisible in the chemical fog from a mosquito sprayer. A tractor trailer has slowed to a crawl. The driver never sees it dot at 2:25 a.m. The Buick slams into the back of that truck at full speed. The car slides underneath. The roof is sliced clean off. 3 adults in the front seat die instantly. Their skulls crushed dot, but those 3 children in the back, they survive. That 3-year-old girl? Today, you know her as Mariska Hargitay, the star of Law and Order SVU. She still has a zigzag scar on her head from that night. This is the tragic true story of Jayne Mansfield, a woman cursed by tragedy from birth to death. But before we get to that terrible night, let me tell you about the curse that followed Jayne Mansfield her entire life. Because tragedy found her when she was just 3 years old. Vera Jane Palmer was born on April 19, 1933, in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. Her father, Herbert, was a successful attorney. Her mother, Vera, was a school teacher. They were comfortable. Happy little Jayne was a prodigy. She played violin and piano. She spoke multiple languages. Her IQ was reportedly 163, higher than Einstein's. But at 3 years old, tragedy struck for the first time. Her father, Herbert, had a massive heart attack while driving the family car. Little Jayne was in that car when her father died at the wheel. She would later say, "Something went out of my life that day. My earliest memories are the best. I always try to remember the good times when Daddy was alive." Her mother remarried and moved the family to Dallas, Texas. Jayne grew up middle-class, strict household, dreaming of one thing, Hollywood. She collected movie magazines obsessively. Her idol? Shirley Temple. Then later, Marilyn Monroe. At 16, she met 20-year-old Paul Mansfield at a Christmas party. They married secretly in January 1950. By November, she had a baby daughter, Jayne Marie. But being a teenage mother wasn't going to stop her. While other women became housewives, Jayne enrolled at the University of Texas. She studied drama. She entered beauty pageants. She won them all. In 1954, she convinced her husband to move to Los Angeles. Hollywood was calling. What happened next made her a star overnight. But it also destroyed her marriage and her reputation. Jayne Mansfield arrived in Hollywood as a brunette housewife with a baby. She left as the most photographed woman in the world. Her breakthrough? A publicity stunt. In January 1955, at a press event for the movie Underwater, Jayne wore a bikini that was accidentally too small. When she dove into the pool, her top fell off. Cameras went crazy. The photos made every newspaper in America. Jayne Mansfield had arrived. She bleached her hair platinum blonde. She adopted pink as her signature color. Pink cars, pink clothes, even a pink mansion she called the Pink Palace. It had a heart-shaped swimming pool with the words, "I love you, Janie," tiled at the bottom. In 1955. She starred on Broadway in Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter? The reviews were sensational. 20th Century Fox signed her to a contract and promoted her as the next Marilyn Monroe. In 1956, she starred in The Girl Can't Help It, a rock and roll comedy that became a hit. The next year, she won the Golden Globe for New Star of the Year. Evangelist Billy Graham famously said, "This country knows more about Jayne Mansfield's measurements than the Second Commandment." Her measurements? 40 minus 21 minus 35. Every newspaper printed them. But behind the dumb blonde act was one of the smartest women in Hollywood. She spoke 5 languages. She played classical violin. She could discuss Shakespeare and Tchaikovsky. None of that mattered. Hollywood wanted her body, not her brain. And by 1958, her first marriage was over. Then she met the man of her dreams, a Hungarian bodybuilder named Mr. Universe. It was a fairy tale romance. That would end in nightmare. Mariska Hargitay was the 1955 Mr. Universe, a Hungarian immigrant with muscles like marble. He was performing in Mae West's nightclub act when Jayne saw him. It was love at first sight. They married in 1958 in a glass chapel so fans and reporters could watch. They had 3 children together, Nicky Jr., Zoltan, and Mariska. For a few years, it seemed like Jayne had everything, but by the early 1960s, her career was collapsing. The studio stopped calling. The roles dried up. Hollywood had moved on. They called her cheap. They called her trashy. The very sexuality that made her famous was now destroying her. In 1963, she appeared fully nude in the movie Promises. Promises, the first major American actress to do so. It caused a scandal. Playboy published the photos. Obscenity charges were filed against Hugh Hefner. That same year, she and Mickey divorced. He got custody of the children. Jayne spiraled, drinking, affairs, bad decisions. In 1964, she married director Matt Kimber. They had a son, Antonio. By 1966, that marriage was over too, destroyed by her alcoholism and infidelity. And then, she met Sam Brody. Sam Brody would become Jayne's boyfriend, her lawyer, and some believe the man who brought a curse upon her head. A curse from the Church of Satan itself. In 1966, Jayne Mansfield met Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan. LaVey was a showman. He lived in a house he painted black, kept a pet lion, and surrounded himself with women in black robes. He didn't actually worship the devil. His religion was about individualism and pleasure, but the publicity was irresistible. LaVey named Jayne the high priestess of the Church of Satan. Photos of them together made headlines worldwide. Whether it was real or a publicity stunt, no one knows for certain. What we do know is this: Sam Brody hated Anton LaVey. He was jealous of their friendship. During one visit to LaVey's black house, Brody allegedly destroyed some of LaVey's sacred talismans. LaVey was furious. He placed a curse on Sam Brody. He told Jayne, he will die in a car crash within 1 year. And if you're with him, you will die too. Jayne laughed it off. But then, strange things started happening. 1 month after the curse, Jayne took her children to Jungleland USA, a zoo in California. While she posed for photos with a lion, 6-year-old Zoltan wandered too close. The lion attacked. It grabbed the boy's head in its jaws. Zoltan survived, barely. He needed 3 brain surgeries. He contracted meningitis. He spent a month in the hospital. LaVey claimed he performed a satanic ritual to save the boy's life. Jayne publicly thanked him. And Sam Brody? In the 7 months that followed, he was in 6 car accidents. The 7th car accident would be the last for both of them. June 28, 1967. Biloxi, Mississippi. Jayne Mansfield performed 2 shows at the Gus Stevens Supper Club. She was tired, worn down. At 34 years old, she was performing in nightclubs instead of making movies. But she had a TV appearance scheduled in New Orleans the next morning. She had to drive through the night. In the car were the driver, 20-year-old Ronnie Harrison, her boyfriend, Sam Brody, and 3 of her children, Mickey Jr., Zoltan, and Mariska sleeping in the back seat. At some point during the evening, Jayne had moved the children from the front seat to the back. That decision would save their lives. They left Biloxi after midnight. The route took them down Highway 90, a dark, two-lane road that cut through Louisiana swampland. At 2:25 a.m., they approached a tractor trailer that had slowed behind a mosquito-spraying truck. The chemical fog was thick. The driver couldn't see anything. The 1966 Buick Electra slammed into the back of the trailer at full speed. The car went underneath. The roof was sheared completely off. Jayne Mansfield, Sam Brody, Ronnie Harrison. All three were killed instantly. According to her death certificate, Jayne died from a crushed skull with avulsion of cranium and brain. The top of her skull was torn away. For decades, people believed she was decapitated. She wasn't. But the truth is almost worse. Her scalp and the top of her head were ripped off by the impact. A photograph of the crash scene showed something blonde lying near the car. People thought it was her head. It was her wig. The three children in the back seat? They survived with minor injuries. 3-year-old Mariska was trapped in the wreckage. The paramedics didn't even know she was there until her brother. Zoltan asked where his baby sister was. She had a zigzag gash across her head. She still carries that scar today. Jayne Mansfield was dead at 34, but her legacy and her children's story was just beginning. Jayne Mansfield's funeral was held on July 3, 1967, in Pen Argyl, Pennsylvania. Hundreds lined the streets. She was buried next to her father, the man who had died in a car when she was 3 years old, the only ex-husband who attended. Mariska Hargitay. He took back his 3 children. He remarried a stewardess named Ellen, and together they gave the kids something they desperately needed: a normal childhood. Anton LaVey held his own memorial service at the Black House. He expressed deep regret that his curse on Sam Brody had also killed Jayne. But Jayne Mansfield's death changed something else: highway safety. Because of her accident, the National Highway Safety Administration required all semi-trucks to have an underride guard, a steel bar across the back, to prevent cars from sliding underneath. To this day, truckers call it the Mansfield Bar. Her estate? It was a disaster. When her children went to court in 1977, they discovered their mother had left behind $500,000 in debt. There was nothing left. But Mariska Hargitay's children didn't need money. Mariska Hargitay, that 3-year-old who survived the crash, grew up to become a star. She has played Detective Olivia Benson on Law and Order SVU since 1999. It's the longest-running character in American primetime drama history. She won an Emmy, a Golden Globe. She has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 2025, Mariska directed a documentary about her mother called My Mom Jayne. In it, she revealed a secret she'd kept for decades. Mariska Hargitay wasn't her biological father. Her real father was an Italian singer named Nelson Sargelli, a man her mother had an affair with in 1963. When she confronted Mickey with the DNA results, he simply said, "You're a Hargitay to the end." Jayne Mansfield lived fast and died young. She was 34 years old. She wanted to be taken seriously as an actress. Hollywood only wanted her body. She wanted love. She had 3 marriages, countless affairs, and a boyfriend who may have cursed her to death. She wanted her children to be safe. And somehow, miraculously, they were. Her daughter Mariska once said, "My mother was a woman who was way before her time." She was just amazing. Jayne Mansfield's grave lies in a small cemetery in Pennsylvania next to her father. The headstone is simple, but every truck on every American highway carries her name, the Mansfield Bar. A woman who wanted to be remembered for her talent, is instead remembered for how she died. Maybe that's the real tragedy. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please share it with someone who remembers when Jayne Mansfield lit up the screen. Subscribe and hit the bell. Next week, we're telling the story of Natalie Wood, another Hollywood beauty, another mysterious death, another truth that's been hidden for decades. Leave a comment below. Do you believe in the Satanic curse? Or was it just a terrible accident? Until next time, stay blessed